So the next game on our list is Snowboard Kids for Nintendo 64.
Snowboard Kids!
Which is not, or I guess, our first Nintendo 64. I thought it was for a second, and then I remember we did Superman 64.
No! Why? You remember that?
I did.
I flushed that out of my memory.
Because Kyle and I beat that goddamn game in one afternoon. Painful.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kyle, tell us about
Afraid.
Snowboard Kids.
All right. Well, it's a snowboarding racing game with a little twist to it. I believe there's, 5 characters that you get to pick from?
Mm-hmm.
Little kids
Originally,
with big noses, and they're all taped up and beat up, but there's 2 females and I think 3 males in there. They all have their different specs to them. Some can move faster, some can do better tricks, and so there's 9 levels. 6 in the beginning for racing. There's different breakdowns to it. So you can do your battle racing, and you can do a trick area, and there's a speed level, and then there's a shooting level, which is actually really fun. And then there's time trials that you can do. And a lot of the game kind of rotates around battle racing, where you're racing and you're collecting money to get power-ups. And the power-ups can range from, pots and pans and dropping them on your head, dropping rocks, shooting icicles that freeze them, shooting bombs, or hands that knock them down. And there's a parachute advantage that, hits you way in the sky and you end up floating down, which is a pain. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It can be a very fast-paced game, and there's frustrating parts to it. A lot of turning. Some levels are harder than others, but over time they gradually get harder. I think it's based on the level, and then some of the computer players can be ruthless. Just destroy you. I've been smoked 3 times with different.
They hit you with a pan when you're on the ramp, and then you can't.
Get you're midair and
your momentum just
to the
dies.
ground.
Yeah.
The added tricks to it, being able to rank your coins up so you can keep getting power-ups, because if you try to get a power-up without any money, good luck.
Yeah, you get rejected.
You hit a brick wall.
That confused me a lot. And you not only do you have to pay attention, because it becomes an obstacle if you don't have any money.
Yeah.
And then you have to dodge it.
And then there's timing too, which pissed me off, is somebody would get it and I'd be like, oh, can't do it, because if you try to get it when it's spawning still, it takes about 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds.
So it's kind of like Mario Kart 64, where you can't just get an item immediately after somebody gets it. It has a respawn timer. But unlike Mario 64, it becomes basically a brick in the road until it fully respawns.
Yeah. That is. So I had to abandon a lot of those. Also, you don't want to get greedy and try to collect every one, because you run yourself out of money. And if you spend everything. So if you're trying to get money over the long run, I kind of pace myself at the end for reasons to unlock the secrets.
Yeah.
But so that's the added advantage. And then the icicle. If you freeze somebody, that becomes an obstacle.
Yeah. You can run into them after you freeze them if you're too close.
Yep.
And the bomb, if you're too close, you blow yourself up too.
Yeah.
So you can the 2 of you are stuck there doing nothing while the other people are like, bye.
That was more of a death trap than an advantage, the bomb.
Yeah. So some of the items are way better than others. You again, like Mario Kart 64, you have your red shell, your blue shell, your blah blah blah, shit like that. Your banana is the rock, things like that. But a lot of the items are actually pretty fucking terrible. So when we're talking about the bomb, there's a bomb that you can grab, and it usually only get it when you're in 1st or 2nd place, and it's by far the worst weapon in the game, where it barely has any homing power, and it has a blast radius that's freaking gigantic. And if you're anywhere near it, you're fucked.
Yep.
I guess the only advantage to it is if you have multiple enemies in front of you,
far
enough ahead of you, and managing to stay in this perfect area of effect. Yeah, that
almost never happens.
But if you're in 4th place, you'll never get the bomb. So what the fuck does it matter?
It's weird. Yeah,
you'll get slappers, which are probably the most useful.
They are the most homing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parachute's OP as hell.
If you hit them with it, yeah.
It also has a lot of homing power.
Yeah, and so does the snowman and
the snowman barely has homing.
I guess
bounces.
It bounces.
Yeah,
that's right.
that one
yeah.
bounces a lot,
Actually,
so it's good in tight
And that
corridors.
can hurt you too.
Yeah.
I don't think it can.
Yeah.
I
I've
thought
never
it
been hit
could.
by my own.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh yeah.
And I've
Okay, never mind.
basically tried. For better or worse, I've tried. And then that ice skull that we were talking about turns somebody into ice, and it has a lot of homing capabilities. But if you cast on the guy right in front of you, you'll bash right into him, and it's basically no advantage at that point. So, yeah, a lot of interesting power-ups. There's one, I don't want to call it a hidden power-up, but it kind of is. You can get a mouse if you're in like 3rd or 4th place.
Just never got that.
It's very rare, and it'll give you all the gold from all the other racers.
Oh, is that how it works? Okay.
But you usually only get it if you're in like last place, so it doesn't really help.
I almost always got the pans.
The
At
pans are
fourth
great.
place. Yeah,
They're
huge
so-
advantage.
So there's power ups that that are triggered shooting ones that you shoot out, and there's other power ups that use the B button that are tend to be more defensive ones.
Yep.
Whereas the pan is kind of like a shooting one, but it affects all of your opponents.
Yep.
And then you have like the invisible board and the wind turbine. That's right, the wind turbine board, which makes you go faster. The invisible board lets you avoid most of the negative things.
Yep.
The
Everything
rock,
but
drops
the
behind you.
ghost.
The ghost.
Can you hit the rock with the visible with the board?
You know, I swear I've seen both things happen when I'm invisible. I'll either hit the rock and die, or like, trip, or I'll run right over it. I don't know what the official, rock stance is, I guess.
Yeah.
With the invisible board.
Okay.
I've seen both. I don't know.
But there's timing things about you can save some of those power ups, like you save the invisible to use when someone's about to target you. You get a little exclamation mark above your head, and that would be a good time to use the invisible thing.
Yep.
Or you can use it immediately after you get it, and
That's kind of a waste.
or use it right before you get the next box. So,
Or if you use it before a lift, you basically wasted.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta know about the timing. Yeah, if you use it, the turbine thing, it's good in straightaways. If you know it's if a twisty spot coming up ahead,
It's
then you're just
terrible,
gonna waste
Don't
it.
hit anything.
Yeah.
Waste it.
Yeah, if you hit a wall, it's gone. Yeah.
Yep.
It lasts forever though if you use it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very long time. One very interesting thing, which kind of separates it from like Mario Kart, for example, is when you're basically on a new lap, it doesn't just repeat. The track doesn't just repeat. It's a snowboarding game, so you actually have to get on a ski lift. Now, there's the funny things with that is only one person is allowed in the ski lift at a time.
Oh, yeah. There's a turnstile.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you if you try to get on it immediately after somebody else does, you're just going to hit a wall.
And you have to be spot on with getting on the lift.
Yeah.
Through the lift gate.
And
you
you
hit
can-
the corner.
Yeah. And you can skip in line. You can zip ahead of
Yeah.
somebody and knock them out of line.
Yeah.
Smash.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect of it because it's so different.
It's
and
cute.
weird.
Piss me off.
And you can fuck over people with
Yeah.
like ice and stuff right at the ski lift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just create this obstacle right in the middle of it. No one can get on.
Yeah, they're waiting in line and you hit them with the parachute or whatever. Yeah.
Or you can use it for invincibility.
Yeah.
It basically makes you untargetable once you're in the lift.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of little neat things with that. Tricks are a huge aspect of this game.
Huge.
You don't need to do them in order to beat the game. But I think they not only enhance the fun of the game, because if it's just a plain old racing game, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
But you can do tricks like you're playing like 1080 snowboarding.
Yeah, you're just playing.
Some of the tricks can be helpful, like if you hit a wall, but you do the trick move instead, like that you backflip off the wall,
Yeah.
and keep your momentum versus crashing or having to slowly coast back downward.
And I swear doing tricks makes you go a little bit faster when you land. I don't know if that's accurate.
I kind of
but-
wondered that too. I know if you goof up on a trick or don't jump off a ramp, you're screwing yourself because you'll see the
Yeah.
PC, the
Yeah, you
CPU
seem to
just
go really
jump
slow.
over you.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're just dropped to the ground and you lose, some time.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense to at least try something.
At least a basic jump. If
Yeah, it's
nothing
a
else.
jump.
I would say on some jumps. And then on some levels, like that grass level,
Yeah.
there's a big jump in there that has like a wall almost immediately when you land. So if you're doing a trick, you always hit that damn wall.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you don't do a trick, you can actually angle your snowboarder to basically not hit the wall at the end.
Mm.
But if you do a trick, you're locked into wherever you were when you started that trick. So if you did a trick and you're slightly angled to the left, that's the way you're going to land every time. If you don't do a trick, you can basically rotate a 1080 in the air just by holding the C stick to land differently.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you have to be really comfortable with the map before you go crazy with tricks.
Yeah,
you kind of have to learn it first. And my struggle was I never really got out of that stage, and so I mostly skipped the tricks because I was just trying to get better at actually navigating the tracks.
But if you skip too many tricks, then it's hard to get items.
Right. I would do it like the couple of times I needed to do it first to have some coin, and then I would say the heck with it.
Yeah. So there's multiple different ways to play the game.
Right.
I wouldn't overdo it on the tricks unless you're super comfortable, because if you start doing a bunch of grabs, you're gonna F yourself.
Yeah, so that's kind of for some reason I always geeked out over that feature.
Yeah.
So you can do board grabs anytime you jump. Whether it be off a big ramp, you can board grab while you're doing like a backflip. And the longer you hold the grab, the more points you get. But if you hold it for too long, then you crash at the bottom.
Yep.
But holding the grab, not only does it kind of feel good for some reason.
It does. Looks cool.
It looks cool, and you get more points. It's like, yeah, I kind of just want to board grab, even though I should.
them up.
And the second game changes board grabbing, which is the only aspect I don't like of it. But
oh, does it?
We'll
Okay.
talk about
I like
it
that.
later.
You know, when you showed me that.
Yeah.
You know, being on the C buttons. That's
it gets
cool.
weird because it's so far away from what you're doing. Like you wouldn't think to normally press them, and
I mean,
most of the buttons don't do shit in that
It
game.
makes sense because you got like 2 seconds of folly once you pull off a rotation or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
So it feels good just to like grab that board and do a little something with it.
Ride
you
a
know?
stale fish out.
Yeah, stale fish. So I don't
Sweet.
know. It's Snowboard Kids for me is like a guilty pleasure game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can see why you really like it and playing it more now. Actually, on a 64, make like it's like, oh, this is what you can do with the 64 controller. So that was cool. But yeah, I could see why you like that as a kid playing it.
Yeah, it feels like a freaking snowboarding game to me. So the turning is weird, and this fucks a lot of people up in the beginning.
I'm still not used to it.
So if you simply press left or right, you don't really turn all that much.
No,
Like, you
no.
barely turn. So you have to kind of hold back left or back right, and then you actually do a turn.
Right.
But if you hold it for too long, your guy basically starts to even out on a snowboard, and you lose all your momentum.
Or you slow down really bad too.
Yeah.
And I noticed this in a later stage with the quick stance stage,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
Where I'm running the Alpine level 3 board, and like people are just flooring it past me. Mm-hmm. Another gripe about that, the whole turn, you really have to learn how to do it and position yourself on that sand, like that landslide with the sand was pouring off into the edge.
Yeah.
Right?
That one's hard.
I messed that up so many times, but I did figure out how to do it. But you had to position yourself. But I was like, I would pray that I would get a fan, right, to zoom me past.
I always thought the fan was suicide in that part.
No, that was the only way I could get through it. I would just do that, hit the fan, and then blast right through it. But you didn't get a fan every time. So, but that's what screwed me over. And I did notice that you can't just hold down in left or right, because you would slow way down. You actually kind of had to do it and then let off and then kind of slowly do it because you could see yourself speed up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would slow down way too much.
Yeah.
Right.
To get around those turns.
That feels to me, like when we used to go out skiing and snowboarding a lot.
Yeah.
For me, that feels like you're freaking skiing and snowboarding.
I know.
Like, it just feels right for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Where it's like, you don't just turn left and right when you're skiing. Like,
Right.
no, you have to kind of like slow down a little bit. You have to pivot.
Yeah.
That's what the game is.
So
It's like,
carving.
yeah.
Carving
They
and
did
whatnot.
well, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Actually, there was parts where I was bopping over hills. I was like, wow, this feels so much like snowboarding.
Yeah. I kind of like it.
Whereas I'm not a snowboarder or a skier of any sort, and I just couldn't get used to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a huge racing game fan, but I like my F-Zero, Mario Kart type games in moderation. But this game, I just... I knew how to do it. It was explained to me, and I could make it happen, but it just isn't... My fingers didn't remember it, clearly yet. I just hadn't worked my way through that yet. So...
And the game is ruthlessly hard.
Yeah.
It is way harder than like even 150cc on Mario Kart.
It's not forgiving.
No,
not only are the courses difficult, but the other guys are brutal with using their power-ups on you.
And they're fast as shit.
Yeah.
You get somebody who's way up there. Good luck. Might as well just retry.
And the stats for all the racers, you have the ones that are slower but they have better control, and then you have the ones that are faster but have worse control. And so a lot of tracks, I found myself having to pick somebody, not only a racer but a board with the best control possible.
Yep.
And so I could just stay in control, not slide off the side.
Yep.
But then I would never win the race because I'm going so much slower than everybody. And so you had to kind of figure out a happy medium, or you had to abuse the power-ups better than the enemies did, or whatever,
That all-around board, the middle of the road one, was the best one I would go for, unless I would hit the Alpine board. Once I got comfortable enough with turning, then I would use the Alpine board.
Yeah, I think the more speed you can comfortably use, the better, but to a point. Like, there's probably a certain point where you just can't turn enough for a certain...
Yeah, I generally, even when I chose Tommy, I almost always chose the control board.
Sure.
Like the level 3 of that. Because it's basically a game overs you once you land in a pit or something. You might as well just retry the stage if you do that later on.
Yeah.
So I always went for control, and I just kind of kept with it. And sometimes if I wanted to win a race, I'd pick Tommy, who's the fastest character with by far the worst control. But if you pick like Tommy and then the fastest board, it's just like literally nothing works. Yeah. You just will speed line into a wall, and you can't do shit about it. So
Right.
And he has no air time. He's just like a fat guy. He just straight up drops like an anchor. So
I've been on some head-to-head matches with Tommy.
Yeah.
You're going down, boy!
And that's the thing. Like, it seems like no matter who you're playing, if you're getting beaten by the CPU, it's always Tommy, isn't it?
No.
I don't know. It seemed to me like
Linda.
You always have a rival.
Well, yeah, it
rival.
just seemed to me that if I was getting badly beaten on a certain map, and I'm granted not playing Tommy, but it seemed like he would always be the one that, like, if the computer's if he's being played properly, he has the most speed. He's gonna get through the fastest.
I think it depends on who your character is,
Probably.
who your rival is.
Probably. It just seemed like in a few cases he seemed. Maybe it is just purely based on that. It wasn't.
I think it's something like that, like
That
a
might
rival
be.
system of
That
some
might
sort.
be.
So every character has a bunch of special tricks, anywhere from 3 to 5.
Yep.
Special tricks have this cool little like blue star thing around you, and they give you a lot more points. And they can look pretty badass. Tommy's look like shit.
Just spazzing
Yeah.
in the sky.
Well, no, he just like slightly moves his hips, and that's like
Oh,
his
yeah.
whole thing. And it takes like an hour, so you have to basically only do it on the big jumps. Yeah, he
Yep.
kind of sucks.
I think it's-
But there's
And there's the hidden character.
there's the hidden character Shinobin,
Shinobi.
who's just a random ninja guy. His secret tricks actually kind of look lame.
But he has the best overall stats by
By far the best
stats.
overall
Ranks
stats.
max.
But he can't use any board except his.
Yep.
Right.
He's got his own special boards, which are kind of cool. There's like
Yeah.
a ninja star, a scroll, and
Shuriken,
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's cool stuff like that.
Sword.
There's a couple special boards you can get after beating the game. You can get the star board, which I want to say that's kind of has like the Shinobin stats in the board, like 2.5 stars for everything.
Yeah.
It seems pretty much perfect in every way.
Pretty legit.
There's the, was it a piece of ice?
Yep, ice board.
Ice board, which is, you literally
shit.
can't turn in it, basically.
Just spin and slide down there.
Yeah. It's
Good luck.
like fucking
turning.
useless. And the game even says it's basically
Yeah,
useless.
that's what. Right before I clicked A on that, I was like, "Oh wow, it said board's useless." Never mind. It's only 1,000 once you unlock if you buy all of the other level boards.
Yeah.
From all 3 of the levels.
Yeah,
Then you can get the ice board.
It's bad. And then there's the, what is it, the feather board, which you can only get, and we got it today, actually, before we recorded this, but you have to do basically the trick minigame.
Yep.
And you have to get 2,500 points?
Yeah, 2,000 to 2,500.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got like 28
2,800, something like that. Featherboard's broken. You literally just, you jump and you basically float for 5 seconds at any given point.
Flips in the midair.
And it's pretty fast too, it's not bad. So if you ever just want to like dick around, do tricks, clip the map, like do whatever.
Yeah, move through solid rock.
Yeah, like if you just want to see like
Massive.
the random shit in Snowboarding Kids, grab the featherboard. It's a ton of fun. You get board grab for like 2 jumps in a row. You skip jumps with it. You just do your own thing. You can do tricks from just standing, which you can't do with anything else in the game.
Stationary flips.
Yeah, so... and that's about it, other than just the extremely difficulty, basically. It's a snowboard racing game.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if they had, from my perspective, not being a huge, racing game guy, if they had adjusted things like a point or so downward, where the fastest boards had a little more control, then I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But the trade-off was just a little too sharp for my taste.
Yeah. I want to say the second game improves that quite a bit, but it's been years since I played it.
Yeah.
But, Kyle, what did you think of Snowboard Kids?
I liked it. Now that I knew you could do a little bit more from, the emulator to the 64, it got a little bit better for me. But, I give it a 3.5, close to a 4, in between there. The shooting, the battling aspect of it's really fun, and they didn't cheap out on the other little special modes that you can do with it, which is fun. One thing I wish you could have a little better or more trick courses, not just the same one.
That would be nice.
That would be cool, because they gave you multiple courses, like 3 of them for the shooting and the speed courses.
To be fair, we didn't go back into the other one once we scored 2800, so maybe there's another 1 or 2 in there.
Could be.
It could be. We kind of forgot about that, I guess.
The big thing I hated about it was the turning. Which
it's a while to get used to.
Talked enough about. Yeah. I'd be using the Alpine board, and everybody else would be using a lower Alpine board, and they would just speeding past me like, "How is this possible?" It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But eventually, it was all about timing, with just finding the best time to drop like an obstacle to prevent them from getting it, because it seemed like it was all programmed in a certain time. You would get something, and then they would get another item, and it would repeat.
Well, you can dick them over by grabbing the items, like with somebody's right behind you, too.
Totally, and I definitely did do that.
Yeah.
I had to find the proper time, so...
Yeah, I kind of feel like if you can afford it, just get the items and just burn them, and just so it's harder for them to get them if they're close enough to you.
I would try to get every blue item, I would try to get that all the time.
Yeah.
Just constantly use that.
Even burn the last one right before you get a new one.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Throw rocks in between the power-up boxes.
As long as you don't trip on them your next round or whatever.
Yeah, most of the time they would hit them. That would be fine. I like that there were shortcuts in the game, and you really needed to utilize those.
Yeah, right? That's the only thing I don't like about the shortcuts is you either have to use them or you don't win the race.
Oh yeah.
So like some of those like is it the dinosaur level or the night level? There's a shortcut in there that if you don't use it, you basically can't win.
I did win without getting it, but I had the quicksand levels, the one that I had to use.
You had to use like 3 different shortcuts in that level in order to even have a chance.
Yep.
Fun.
And then some levels don't, like, straight up just don't have shortcuts.
Yeah,
so you just have to outrace them.
The earlier levels of the game, I didn't find many for shortcuts.
Yeah.
I must not have been looking for them either. I think the only shortcut that I found was in the green grass level.
Yeah.
That was about the only one.
That's the quicksand, and there's like a night level that has a pretty big shortcut
too.
too.
That I don't think I even used that one.
And the Shinobi one doesn't have a...
None. That's so short.
It's a 9 course, though. Or a 9
rotation.
9 rotations
it's
or
only
whatever.
like 381
laps,
or 84 meters.
Yeah.
Right? So, closely about the same distance as the first level.
Yeah.
That had like 580 something.
Yeah. Dave?
I can't really disagree with you about the rating. I would like to give it a lower rating, but it's another one of those where I recognize it's just my personal bias. Not having played a lot of these kind of games, it seems like a pretty competent game, slightly above average, so I guess 3.5 seems fair.
It was fun for the 64.
Yeah.
Good game for it.
Yeah, 64 has kind of the highs and lows of a lot of different genres. Yeah. And this, I think, is... right up there with like Mario Kart 64. Maybe not just in overall, like goodness in a way, but for me, I do find it more enjoyable because it is a lot harder. It's a lot different than any other racing game you're ever going to play.
Yeah.
I give it a 4. Just because the second one does even out a lot of the issues and makes them a little bit more palatable. But definitely a solid game. I would try it out. I think it's getting kind of expensive-ish nowadays. I want to say it's in the 30s.
It was 30. Yeah.
So I'd grab it while you can if you find a cheap copy. I picked up mine for like $20, I think. So not a bad deal. I'd grab it. Definitely recommend it.